What is up, everybody? And today I have a pretty big unboxing to show you today. I ordered a few orders from Cube ZZ and one of the packages has arrived, so I don't know exactly which one it is, but we will figure out together. Okay, let's unbox this. This package is very large. One moment, fix this. Okay, this is somewhat better, I guess. I've changed my tripod. Okay, what are the things that I see? The mini 4x4, this is a Z-Long. Okay, this is the Aofu 7x7 and this is the Aoshi WRM. I already tried them and they were so amazing, way better in my opinion than the MGC. I got myself a tengyun version 1. And we have, is this a tornado? Yes, this is maybe the thing that I'm most excited about. And look at this, the ms3x. I just love stickless cubes, but black or dark plastic is just very beautiful for me. Let's start with the tengyun. How do I open it? That's right. Ooh, that looks very cool. Templates. This all how to solve stuff. What is this? Like maybe adjustment tools. Oh, it's only springs. Oh, they have different tension types. Okay, this is one from one bag. Focus. Okay, so this is from one bag. This is from the other. So to be honest, it's a bit difficult for me still to figure out the differences. Maybe in length. Yes, in length. Okay, the right one is way longer than the other one. But let's get the cube. I will have a feeling that this will feel pretty dry. Oh, actually the outside feels a bit looby. I heard it's like a very quiet cube. Oh, it's super fun to turn it. But it does need a bit of lube other than the stock version. I did not have any expectations that this will be my main cube. I just loved how it felt for me when I had my hands on one. It feels a bit sandy now. But we will get to this later. Okay, next one. YJ Z-Long. I have the Aoshi GTS2M and the MGC 4x4. The MGC I didn't like it, to be honest, because the springs felt way too hard, and the Aoshi GTS2M is kinda got worn out for me. So at first I wanted to get something cheaper that considered still very well. So I decided to get this one. What is this? Some dirt? I don't like the look of it. The next cube we're gonna see is this cube. It's called the ms3x. And I already noticed that it does this rushing noise. Like I felt like a rushing noise even before I opened the delivery box. Oh, those weren't connected well to the box. 3x3s these days are brought up to you with such like so many different adjustable options. So sometimes you don't know where to start from. Okay, this is a pretty high quality card. Pretty thick. I will come back to the adjustments later. Okay, as I said before, I just love it when you have a stickless cube and a dark plastic, like a black plastic here. It does look like the GAN cube actually, to be honest. I think it was like the GAN X when it came out. Okay, first turning, feels a bit tight. No, wrong winter variation. All of these cubes so far that I felt needs adjustments. Probably I will lose it up and a little bit. But it's still a fun cube to turn. It might be a cube with potential. This way, right? Okay, big cubes time. These days we have the big cubes with the smallest boxes. Like, this is the size of a box of a 7x7 these days. This is just crazy. Okay, let's start with a 6x6. Okay, it's pretty easy to take out. Yeah, pretty economic or minimalist bag. Yeah, just a screwdriver and notes. Okay. This cube feels very clean and I love it. Wow, it feels very sandy out of the box. Feels pretty tight. Big cubes are my favorite event, but it does feel so very stable. It's like this is the most stable 6x6 I have ever felt, and as you know, 6x6 is the cube that has the most difficult time to have it very stable. Comparing it to, of course, the 5x5, 7x7 and the 4x4. The magnets on the third layer are very hard. It's tougher than the second and first layers. But we will get to this later. Okay, 7x7 now. This is, probably will not feel that different comparing to the 6x6, but as like, you know, the 7x7 version. Yeah, the boxes have the same size. And as you can see, it looks very similar to the 6x6 one. Wow. It feels like heavier, I guess, than the 6x6. Of course, it's does not supposed to come to any surprise. Yes, I remember this winter variation. Okay. And this is also feels a bit dry and a bit tight. And we saved the best for last, guys. The Tornado V3. All the things that you can hear about it are only very good things. This is like the ultimate cube these days. And I got the most expensive version. I don't even know how you suppose. I think it's like the Pioneer version. This is how it's called, right? Yeah, you can see here it says UV. Okay, the big moment. Ooh, very interesting box. Okay, how many accessories do we receive here? Okay, another card, X-Men design. This is the adjustment guide. This is nice. Okay, this is at least one of the setting tools. Oh, this bag feels special. Usually it feels like this bag feels like more leathery. It's not, you understand it's not leather, but the material feels a bit different. A combination of like leather and balloons. It's kind of weird, but it's interesting. Okay, now to the big thing. A very nice boxing experience. Not only the cube, but it's also all this bag and tool stuff. And this is actually a plastic box that you can save for traveling and stuff and going for competitions. Okay, I'm excited. Okay, the UV, it's very clear. It feels dry, definitely feels dry. So most of the people who will get this cube will just have their style of looping it, so they will not want like a stock loop to interrupt it. Okay, it feels a bit fast, a bit clicky maybe. But I'm sure it will only get better as I get more into the adjustment tools and the looping and the tensioning. So I will stop recording for now and just have experience with these cubes and tell you what I think about each and every one of them. Thank you. Hey, what's up guys? So this is me a few days after I opened up all of these cubes, and until now I had the time to messing around with each one and just trying to adjust my cube to my likings. And let's start to talk about them. Okay, so about the tengyun, so definitely this 3x3 felt the most simple compared to the other two. It's also, of course, for this day as I speak, there is another two versions. The version 3 of the tengyun came out, but I wanted the version 1 because of the feeling I had and the experience that I had with it when I had the chance to make some turns with one. And absolutely it has pretty standard and simple adjustments. It just has screws and springs, nothing fancy. And this pair of springs that you saw earlier was actually a different types of tension springs. The shorter ones were the toughest springs and the longer ones were actually looser springs compared to the ones you already getting with the cube. So I did had the experience of switching it up with both the tougher springs and the looser springs, and it came out to the conclusion that I prefer the most the ones that came out with it, but I did wanted to just switch between them to see what I would like the most. Yeah, so the tengyun will not be my main, even though I do love the feeling, but because it does feel less advanced comparing to the cubes like the tornado, but we will get to that. But still, it's cool that I have the chance to have one of those. So yeah. So the ms3x. Okay, first thing, the accessories were taking too much storage, okay, in terms of how they put out. I have limited storage place for me, and because of how they put it, I have to keep the box as it is, and it's pretty large. This is one thing. Okay, and second thing, the cube has so many different adjustments, it's way overwhelming for the user in my opinion. And to try all the possibilities is super exhausting in my experience. And I didn't manage to get the cube into the perfect position that I wanted, and it never felt
very comfortable no matter what I've done, and I didn't know what the problem is, if it's the tensioning, the spring compression, the magnets. I didn't know, and it was very difficult and frustrating, to be honest. And by the way, the DIY magnets, it was the worst adjustment ever. I tried at the beginning to change it, and it was a horrific experience. It's like you have to tell the difference between north and south and switch off the springs and take off the entire cube, and I didn't manage to really finish with it. As I was starting to do it, I just gave up at the right beginning because I saw how horrific will it be. And after all the different adjustments that I tried, it came to a conclusion that it doesn't matter how many adjustments you can put to one cube. If the cube doesn't feel right for you and you do not like the feel, it probably will not change. And it doesn't matter how much adjustments have I done, the cube did not felt right for me, and this cube is very hard for me to control. And by the way, the magnets felt way too strong for me, and ironically this is the only thing you cannot adjust, so this is ironic. So this cube will not be my main for sure.
And about the Zhilong. So let's start about talking about why did I get the Zhilong. Well, this cube was only $10, which as you understand, is pretty cheap these days for a 4x4. Right now my main 4x4 is kinda, you may say, two cubes that I switch between them. One is the Aoshi GTS2 and the other one is the MGC. And each one has its problems. I mean, the Aoshi GTS2 is feeling pretty old on me now, and the MGC always felt for me like it felt like the springs are way too tight. So I wanted something that may switch that, and I said, okay, yeah, it's only $10, so why not? So when I felt the cube for the first time, the tengyun, but when I took off the first screw, I saw how thin the original spring was, and it was inserted with the screw to a very thin hole, and I knew I couldn't switch it up with anything. So comparing it to the MGC and Aoshi GTS2, the Zhilong feels very small cube, and it was pretty hard to get used to at first. As we're speaking, even now, it's still a bit difficult to try and turn it, especially on PLL parities, where you have to push like the middle layer. So it's kind of tough, but however, on the other hand, when I switched back to the MGC and the Aoshi GTS2, they felt way too big and way too clumsy in terms of size. So I know I prefer something like in the middle if we're talking about the ideal size for me for a 4x4 cube. So on one hand, the cube has a pretty good corner cutting, but it still feels a bit unstable and just feels a bit tight. Maybe it's because of the elasticity, but it kinda feels tight and loose at the same time, which is annoying. So I ordered the WRM 4x4 because its size is like in the middle, and I noticed that I like pretty much a lot of Moyu cubes, and I get along usually with Moyu cubes, so I'm curious to see what I will think about the WRM. So I still do not have a main 4x4, and I will switch up between those three. So about the 6x6 and the 7x7 of the WRM or the worms. So let's start by the 6x6. Well, the Aoshi WRM, when I just opened it, it did felt a bit faster than the 7x7. It felt like it overshoots a bit, but some lube helped it. I used the Lunar lube from Speedcube shop, and it worked very well. And I can tell you that, okay, this is by far, in my opinion, the best 6x6 on the market right now. This 6x6 feels very stable. It's the most stable 6x6 I have ever felt. It felt like Moyu put a lot of good work in their anti-popping mechanism, and for 6x6 it's super duper hard. The cube size is very perfect in my opinion. It's smaller than the MGC. It makes the MGC feels very clumsy, and personally I don't understand why so many years manufacturers did not put up a 6x6 this size. This size is perfect, what can I say? And about the 7x7, it does feel it feels very similar to the 6x6. It does feels a bit heavier than the 6x6. It also of course weighs a bit more and has more pieces of course. And this is a bigger cube, but it does feels a little less faster, but I don't have any problem with it. I think actually the speed on the 7x7 is perfect. It does feel and look very similar also in terms of the color scheme and how it feels. And also about the 7x7, the Aofu WRM feels by far the best one in the market. It makes the MGC 7x7 feels very clumsy because of like the size and stuff. So yeah, this is my champion. Okay, now the Tornado version 3. So about the adjustments, I think the adjustments, how they put it on, it works way better than the ms3x. The adjustments are more like what you need in terms of like the elasticity, the tensions and magnet strength, which this is the something that I told you the ms3 does not have. It works very conveniently, like it's very easy to use. You don't have to have any tool for the tensioning, only for the magnet strengths, and it's nothing. And you have 5 types of magnet strengths. Right now I'm on the second lowest tensioning in terms of magnets wise, and it works very well. The puzzle feels very top class in terms of quality. I mean, in my opinion, X-Men, those fellows did an amazing job by this cube. This is truly a huge flagship. It gave me the knowledge that you don't really have to have a regular screws until now we got used to. It's way more convenient to have a tensioning system like the Tornado V3 rather than the regular screws and tensioning, and the user sometimes can forget how much did he made it loose or made it tight comparing to the other sides of the cube. And it's way easier this way in my opinion. And I think this is the future of not putting screws into 3x3s, and then I will hope it will grow to the other cubes like the 4x4, 2x2s, 5x5s and stuff. And if I want to talk about the UV coating, it's very cool in my opinion actually. It has a very good grip against sweat and just generally a very good grip, and it makes me feel like the product is even a bit more premium about the shininess, and it looks very nice. So yeah. And about the packaging is very excellent, unlike the ms3x where I told you about like the big plastic thingy. It feels like the X-Men manufacturers knew what will the user would like to throw away and what will he like to keep, so they just put on this good plastic small bag and the plastic bag in it, and yeah, so I just kept them of course because it's good for carrying and stuff to competitions, and I threw like the cardboard stuff away. And after messing around with all of the adjustments, it was a bit tough process for me, but it made me understand that I prefer the tensioning quite similar to the between. I prefer like the middle settings that comes with the cube, like the 3 in the middle, not like 1 the loosest or 5 the tightest, in terms of both springs and axis tensions. And about the magnets, I did loosen up a bit as I told you, from 3 to 2. And for the ones who prefer like a very loose settings, the Tornado have this option if you want to, and if you like the tightest settings, the Tornado have this solution for you as well. So it has all of the range. So I can say that now this is my new main, at least temporarily. Until now I had the WRM 2020 as my main. It just felt the best in terms of what I got to use. So it may have been beats it, not necessarily by the feeling of it, but just by the quality generally. In terms of one-handed, so the WRM 2020 is still my main. It still feels a bit better in terms of one-handed solving, and it also, I think, a bit smaller, so this is also better for me for one-handed. But however, I did order the Wise 3M, the Welong V9, and the RS 3Ms, so maybe one of them will be the Tornado V3 for me. I don't know, maybe one of them will have a better feeling for me, so we will see about that. One last thing, actually, the templates in terms of how to solve the 3x3 that came up with the ms3x and the Tornado V3. I don't usually have a serious look at them, but I actually looked at them, and they had pretty good OLED cases from what I've seen, and I might switch a few out, so maybe I will make some use out of these templates. Thank you for watching, and goodbye for now.